himmlischer Vater, ich würde danken, dass wir hier sein können.
Our Heavenly Father, I want to thank you that we can be here.
Ich bitte dich jetzt um deine Anwesenheit und um deinen Segen.
I ask now for your presence and for your blessings.
Bitte Bruder Mark, wenn er uns jetzt anleitet.
And please help also Brother Mark as he's leading out.
Und segne unsere Geschwister, dass sie das Beste daraus ziehen können.
And please bless also our brothers and sisters that they can receive as much as possible.
Ich würde danken für deine Gnade.
And I want to thank you for your grace.
In Jesu Namen.
In Jesus' name. Amen.
Okay, one thing over the years that I came to understand
Also eine Sache, die ich über die Jahre verstanden habe,
is that very often why we can't understand certain quotes or parts of scripture
dass sehr oft, wenn wir bestimmte Zitate oder bestimmte Schriftstellen nicht verstehen können,
it's because we don't quite have the structure correctly.
ist dahingehend geschuldet, dass wir die Struktur noch nicht wirklich richtig verstanden haben.
And over the last sort of 4 years or so, or 5 years, the structure here has been getting built up piece by piece.
Und über die letzten 4-5 Jahre hinweg hat sich diese Struktur immer mehr ausgebaut. Also Stück für Stück ist sie immer mehr vervollständigt worden.
And as we've established a little point, it's allowed us to fit things in correctly, and we've seen them much clearer.
Nachdem wir einen bestimmten Punkt etablieren konnten, haben wir dann andere Dinge klarer sehen können. Das hat dann besser hineingepasst.
Okay, and since we've come to understand this little time of peace, it's becoming clearer and clearer.
Und seitdem wir auch diese kleine Zeit des Friedens hier verstanden haben, werden die Sachen immer noch klarer und noch klarer.
Now we know that Christ is the pattern man,
Und wir wissen, dass Christus dieser Mann der Muster ist.
right? And the vision given to Ezekiel is these repeating patterns.
Und die Vision, die Hesekiel hatte, waren diese sich wiederholenden Muster.
So here we have our last reform line.
Also hier haben wir jetzt unsere letzte Reformlinie aufgezeichnet.
Okay, so and you have these two Sunday law crises.
Da haben wir jetzt diese 2 Sonntagsgesetzkrisen markiert.
And we know that this is represented these 2 times of trouble in a big fractal,
Und wir wissen, das markiert diese 2 Zeichen der Trübsal auf diesem großen Fraktal.
with between the final review and the next Sunday law is this little time of peace.
Und zwischen der finalen Untersuchung und dem nächsten Sonntagsgesetz gibt es diese kleine Zeit des Friedens.
And on the normal reform line, this waymark in the middle here, it's always marked the point where the foundation is laid, and when that foundation is laid, the enemies immediately come up and begin to fight against the truth.
Also und auf den normalen Reformlinien ist immer diese Wegmarke, die Wegmarke, wo das Fundament gelegt wird. Und wenn das Fundament gelegt worden ist, dann kommen sofort die Feinde und kämpfen gegen die Wahrheit an.
Okay, so just let's take one of these, and when we take one of these and lay it here, we see that we have the exact same repeating pattern, just on a smaller level, right?
Und wenn wir jetzt hier eine Zeit des Bindens nehmen und dann hier ausspannen, können wir sehen, dass wir genau dasselbe Muster haben, nur jetzt auf diesen kleineren Fraktal hier.
Okay, so we're somewhere here at the moment, right? Because I've laid 2014 Civil Sunday Law on top, which is the type.
Und wir sind jetzt irgendwie hier kurz davor. Ich habe hier 2014 bis zum zivilen Sonntagsgesetz hier hinübergelegt, denn das ist hier der Typus.
Okay, so I just want to take this now and bring it down here. Look at our time from 2014 down to here.
Deswegen, ich möchte jetzt diese Darstellung nehmen, hier von 2014 bis zum zivilen Sonntagsgesetz und hier ausspannen und hier gegenüberstellen.
So you can see this little time of peace here, right, that we're just before, is a parallel to the bigger one, right?
Deswegen, wir können diese kleine Zeit des Friedens hier in dieser Darstellung dann sehen, dass es in dieser Darstellung eine Parallele ist zu dieser hier.
And we were talking about this the other day because you got this foundational waymark here where the enemies rise up. It's teaching us something in the little time of peace here that we should expect to see happening.
Und das haben wir vor ein paar Tagen uns angeschaut, dass wir hier in dieser kleinen Zeit des Friedens diese fundamentale Wegmarke haben oder die Wegmarke, wo das Fundament gelegt wird. Deswegen können wir auch hier dann erwarten, dass hier die Feinde ein Werk tun werden.
Okay,
Unserer kleinen Zeit des
now
Friedens.
if we just come back to this fractal, which is like a smaller one of this here.
Und wenn wir uns dann hier dieses Fraktal anschauen, was einfach eine kleinere Darstellung ist von hier,
We know that in 2016, those tares popped up their ugly head, right, and started accusing their brethren.
dann wissen wir, dass 2016 der Punkt war, wo dieses Unkraut hervorschoss und ihre Brüder angefangen haben anzuklagen.
And I was really thinking about this time period, trying to remember back everything that happened there, and it's profound, right, really profound.
Und ich musste mich wirklich da nochmal zurückerinnern an diese Zeit, was da alles hier passiert ist, und das war wirklich bemerkenswert.
Because the year before this is when I left Arkansas.
Denn das Jahr davor, 2015, das war dann das Jahr, wo ich Arkansas verlassen habe.
And I remembered that I was actually fleeing from there. And I was thinking about it, it was so profound when I remembered, because when it came to my time to leave, I couldn't wait to leave. I was getting out there as quick as possible because there was things happening there that I couldn't cope with anymore.
Und ich weiß noch, dass ich damals, als ich dann gegangen bin, eigentlich im wahrsten Sinne geflüchtet bin von dort. Denn da sind Sachen vorgefallen, die ich nicht mehr wirklich handhaben konnte, und ich wollte einfach fliehen von dort.
And I remember I came back to Europe and I started to lay down all these things that I had come to understand.
Und ich weiß noch, ich bin dann zurück nach Europa gekommen, in diesem Jahr dann, und habe dann angefangen, die Dinge auszulegen, die ich verstanden habe.
And immediately the enemies of the truth began to rise up against it. And right from your own brethren was really profound.
Und sofort sind dann die Feinde der Wahrheit dagegen aufgestanden, und das war dann inmitten der eigenen Brüder gewesen.
Okay, so much I could say about that, but I don't want to focus on that this morning.
Also da gäbe es jetzt noch einiges darüber zu sagen, aber ich möchte da jetzt nicht heute Morgen so sehr drauf eingehen.
But I want to look at this fleeing right here.
Aber was ich jetzt hier anschauen möchte, ist dieses Fliehen hier an Mitternacht.
Go to Genesis chapter 7,
Gehen wir dazu 1. Mose Kapitel 7.
because this story here has always been very difficult.
Diese Geschichte hier von 1. Mose 7 ist bisher immer sehr schwierig gewesen.
In verse 1.
1. Mose 7, Vers 1.
It says, And the Lord said unto Noah, Come thou and all thy house into the ark, for thee have I seen righteous before me in this generation. So, what does it say about Noah here?
Was sagt es hier über Noah?
It's righteous, right?
Er ist gerecht.
Okay, and it's marking a point where he finished doing this preparatory work of building the ark.
Es markiert den Punkt, wo jetzt dieses Vorbereitungswerk des Baus der Arche abgeschlossen hat.
Now, if you go into the live stream, I've put some notes in there. If you open that,
Wenn ihr jetzt in die Livestream-Gruppe geht, da habe ich ein paar Zitate gepostet.
because what I want us to see this morning is that I believe that the fleeing to get on the ark is right here, and we'll look at that.
Und was ich heute nämlich zeigen möchte, ist, dass dieses Fliehen zur Arche dann auch hier am Mitternacht markiert ist.
And I believe that this is the waymark where the Lord told Noah to get on the ark.
Und ich glaube, dass das hier die Wegmarke ist, wo Gott dem Noah gesagt hat, dass er jetzt auf die Arche gehen sollte.
Okay, so everybody got the notes?
Hat jeder die Notizen?
Okay, let's begin in the first quote from First Spirit of Prophecy, page 71.
Und wir fangen jetzt in dem ersten Zitat hier an, was gepostet worden ist, von 1 SP 71.
It says, after Noah had done all in his power to make every part of the work correct, it was impossible that it could of itself withstand the violence of the storm which God in his fierce anger was to bring upon the earth. The work of completing the building was a slow process. Every piece of timber was closely fitted, and every seam covered with pitch. All that men could do was done to make the work perfect. Yet, after all, God alone could preserve the building upon the angry, heaving billows by his miraculous power. Now, the question I want to ask, what was the ark likened unto?
Und die Frage ist, womit wurde die Arche verglichen?
It says it there in the last sentence.
Sagt es hier in dem letzten Satz.
It's likened unto a building. It was like a house.
Es wird hier mit einem Gebäude verglichen, es war mehr wie ein Haus.
Now, and when you go to Egypt at the Passover, where were they to be inside?
Wenn wir uns Ägypten anschauen, das Passa, wo sollten sie sein?
They were to remain inside the house,
Sie
right?
sollten im Haus bleiben.
And we've paralleled this before, that this time period here was the ark, right? Which is the house that you got to remain in, right?
Und das haben wir vorher schon gezeigt, dass das hier dann auch die Zeit der Arche ist oder dieses Haus, wo du drin sein musst.
Okay, so it says, a multitude at first apparently received the warning of Noah, yet did not fully turn to God with true repentance. There was some time given them before the flood was to come, in which they were to be placed upon probation, to be proved and tried. They failed to endure the trial. The prevailing degeneracy overcame them, and they finally joined others who were corrupt in deriding and scoffing at faithful Noah. They would not leave off their sins, but continued in polygamy and in the indulgence of their corrupt passions. So, I'm not quite sure exactly what that is, but what is the fleeing? You got natural and spiritual, right?
Also was ist dieses Fliehen hier? Wir haben ja das Natürliche und das Geistliche, richtig?
Right. What's the natural fleeing?
Was ist das buchstäbliche Fliehen hier?
Yeah, get out the cities.
Ja, dass du aus den Städten rauskommst.
But what does it mean spiritually?
Aber was bedeutet das geistlich gesehen?
Yes, but what does that mean?
Also
It's
dass
just
du
an expression.
Christus
What does it
fließt,
mean?
aber was bedeutet das konkret?
Study and obey the word.
What are you fleeing from?
Wovon fliehst du hinweg?
Sorry?
Destroyer.
You're fleeing. Okay.
Ja,
You're fleeing from your sins,
du
right?
fliehst weg vom Zerstörer, aber das bedeutet, du fliehst weg von deinen Sünden.
You're leaving your sins behind, right?
Du hinterlässt deine Sünden, also du lässt sie hinten weg.
That's what it means to be in Christ, right? You're not dabbling with those sins anymore. You've got a firm hold of Him, right?
Das bedeutet, du spielst nicht mehr mit deinen Sünden rum, sondern du hast jetzt einen festen Griff an ihn.
So it says there that they would not leave off their sins, right?
Und hier sagt es, sie wollten nicht ihre Sünden loslassen.
It's like the same thing says they would not leave the cities, right?
Das ist genau dasselbe, wie wenn du sagen würdest, sie haben die Städte nicht verlassen.
And it says, next paragraph,
Nächster Absatz.
the period of their probation was drawing near its close. The unbelieving, scoffing inhabitants of the world were to have a special sign of God's divine power. Okay? So, what I want to ask, the question right here, is, where are we? Is this a sign?
Also hier haben wir von diesem besonderen Zeichen gelesen. Und die Frage, die ich euch stellen möchte, ist das hier ein Zeichen, was wir sehen müssen?
Yes,
Yeah.
right? The sign comes here at the beginning, right?
Das Zeichen kommt hier am Anfang.
You can't get out, but when you get to this point, the sign has manifested itself when they flee away, and it's your chance to flee, right?
Du kannst hier nicht aus den Städten raus, aber hier manifestiert sich dieses Zeichen in dem Sinne, dass sie jetzt wegfliehen und du jetzt auch rauskommen kannst.
Okay. Noah had faithfully followed the instructions God had given to him. The ark was finished, exactly as God had directed. He had laid in store immense quantities of food for man and beast. And after this was accomplished, God commanded the faithful Noah, "Come thou and all thy house into the ark, for thee I have seen righteous before me." So, what are we doing at the moment?
Also was tun wir momentan? Also wir haben jetzt bis zu diesem Zitat hier gelesen,
Ja,
wo sie das
Manna.
Bibelvers zitiert.
Yeah, so gathering the manna, right?
Wir sammeln das Manna
Literally, right? So you're storing up what?
und buchstäblich gesehen, was fängst du an einzulagern?
Yeah, you're putting God's word in your heart that you might not sin against Him, right?
Also du fängst an, das Wort Gottes einzulagern, das ist Gottes Wahrheit, damit du nicht gegen ihn sündigst.
And what are we doing literally?
Okay. Und was tun wir buchstäblich gesehen?
Yes, we're preparing our ark, right? Because the ark is this refuge, right?
Also wir bauen jetzt Nahrung an, ja, und wir bauen sozusagen unsere Arche, denn die Arche ist unser Zufluchtsort.
What does she say the literal refuge is?
Was sagt sie, was ist dieser buchstäbliche Zufluchtsort? Countryside?
The countryside, where you have a piece of land and you can grow your own food,
Also
right?
es ist auf dem Land, wo du ein Stück Land hast und wo du dann Nahrung anbauen kannst.
Okay. It says, "Angels were sent to collect from the forest and field the beasts which God had created. Angels went before these animals, and they followed 2 and 2, male and female, and clean beasts by sevens. These beasts, from the most ferocious down to the most gentle and harmless, peacefully and solemnly marched into the ark. The sky seemed clouded with birds of every description. They came flying to the ark, 2 and 2, male and female, and clean beasts by sevens. The world looked on with wonder, some with fear, but they had become so hardened by rebellion that this most signal manifestation of God's power had but a momentary influence upon them. For 7 days these animals were coming into the ark, and Noah was arranging them in the places prepared for them." So, I want to just make this thing that this right here is a period of 7 days, right?
Also das war also eine Zeit von 7 Tagen.
And it's this sign, and the sign is that God's people are fleeing from the cities and getting into the ark, right?
So ein Zeichen, und das Zeichen war, dass Gottes Volk aus den Städten fliehen muss, um in die Arche zu gehen.
Okay. Next paragraph.
Nächster Absatz.
"And as the doomed race beheld the sun shining in its glory, and the earth clad in almost its Eden beauty, they drove away their rising fears by boisterous merriment, and by their deeds of violence seemed to be encouraging upon themselves the visitation of the already awakened wrath of God. Everything was now ready for the closing of the ark, which could not have been done by Noah from within. An angel is seen by the scoffing multitude descending from heaven, clothed with brightness like lightning." So, what comes here at this point?
Was kommt hier an diesem Punkt?
No, I'm not asking what we just read. I'm asking this waymark, what comes here?
In dieser Wegmarke, was kommt hier?
Exceeding bright light, right?
Das überaus helle Licht.
And exceeding bright light it comes down by an angel. We have an angel coming down here. Right?
Und das ist dann dargestellt hier, dass dieser Engel hier herabkommt.
And it's paralleled by Satan coming down here.
Und das ist eine Parallele auch, dass Satan auch hier herabkommt.
It's also true in an
Es
account.
gibt immer das Wahre und das Falsche.
An angel is seen by the scoffing multitude descending from heaven, clothed with brightness like the lightning. He closes that massive outer door and then takes its course upward to heaven again. Right? So, do we have a closed door right here?
Haben wir hier eine geschlossene Tür?
Yes?
Yes.
Ja.
This is Christ Object Lessons 412, right?
Das ist der Christi Gleichnisse 412.
In this time they were arranging for their long stay while the waters should be upon the earth. And I missed the part. Okay, yes, excuse me. He closes the massive outer door and then takes his course upward to heaven again. 7 days were the family of Noah in the ark before the rain began to descend upon the earth. Right? So let's just put this other 7 right here.
Also 7 Tage waren dann Noah und seine Familie in der Arche, bevor der Regen anfing zu fallen.
In this time they were arranging for their long stay while the waters should be upon the earth. And these were days of blasphemous merriment by the unbelieving multitude. They thought, because the prophecy of Noah was not fulfilled immediately after he entered the ark, that he was deceived, and that it was impossible that the world could be destroyed by a flood. Okay, so 7, there's this sign here. It gets on the ark, door closes, and what do we all also understand should come right here?
Also 7 Tage, er geht auf die Arche, die Tür schließt sich und was verstehen wir, was soll dann auch hier kommen?
Stick with what?
The flood.
Okay, look. I said we're between 2014 and the Civil Sunday Law. What's the theme that is testing us at the moment?
Also wir sind ja zwischen 2014 und dem zivilen Sonntagsgesetz und was ist das, was uns momentan testet?
Well, the coronavirus. We say that it's going to end and then it's going to come back, right?
Coronavirus. Wir sagen ja, es endet hier und es kommt dann aber hier wieder zurück.
Okay, so what is this teaching us?
Was lehrt uns das hier?
That when you get here, right, that it's not going to come immediately as you expected it. And what's it going to do?
Wenn du hierhin kommst, es wird nicht sofort kommen, wie du es erwartet hast. Und was wirst du tun?
People are going to start saying, yeah, you're false prophets, right?
Leute werden anfangen, dich zu spotten und sagen, du bist ein falscher Prophet.
And also, you have the story of Zwingli in that. What and Job. What was happening to Job and Zwingli in this time period?
Was ist da dann mit Hiob und Zwingli in dieser Zeit hier gekommen?
They got hit by the plague, so all these people were looking at them saying, plagues come upon you, not upon us, right?
Sie sind mit dieser Plage befallen worden und sie sagen, ja, guck mal hier, du hast die Plage bekommen, nicht wir.
So
The question would be then, if you would parallel the flood with the coronavirus, then the coronavirus would come here against you at the end of your test.
yes.
Would be the end of the test, right?
You just follow on, right? It's always the same. We always have our own ideas. This is why we're going through this, right? So,
I'll just conclude what you...
yes, no, that's what I'm saying. 7 days and then it's going to come. They start to mock you because we've been saying, right, that it's going to go and it's going to come back right here, right?
Also wir haben ja gesagt, es wird weggehen und es wird hier wiederkommen. Richtig, das haben wir
Right.
bisher gesagt.
Nod your heads for yes, shake your heads
Yes.
for no, right? So that's what we've been saying, right? So when the sign comes, there's going to be a signal manifestation. Everybody who's obedient will flee and get on the ark. And Christ Object Lessons 412 says the door closes, right?
Also Christi Gleichnis 412 sagt, hier schließt die Tür.
And when the door closes, what is going to immediately manifest itself?
Und wenn die Tür schließt, was wird sich sofort manifestieren?
Character.
Der Charakter.
And what does it say you're tested about in Christ Object Lessons 412?
Und was sagt es, woran wirst du hier getestet, gemäß Christi Gleichnis 412?
To see if you've got any faith, right?
um zu sehen, ob du irgendeinen Glauben hast.
Okay, let's continue to read and let's allow these things to show themselves.
Just want to understand what you want to say. In the sense,
I'm not saying anything, just let's follow the narrative.
but if you would stick it here at the end, right, your test is over, right? So in the sense, the coronavirus is not part of your test.
No, just let's read on. It says, next paragraph.
Nächster Absatz.
Okay, did I read that bit? Notwithstanding? Did I read that already?
No, you've not read that.
Okay, notwithstanding the solemn exhibition they had witnessed of God's power, of the unnatural occurrence of the beast, leaving the forest and field, and going into the ark, and the angel of God clothed with brightness, and terrible majesty descending from heaven and closing the door, yet they hardened their hearts, and continued to revel and sport over the signal manifestations of divine power. But upon the 8th day, the heavens gathered blackness. Now, in our studies over the last couple of weeks, did we mark the 8th day here?
Also in unseren Studien über die letzten Wochen haben wir den 8. Tag hier markiert.
And what does the 8th day represent?
Und was stellt der 8. Tag dar?
What's it a symbol of?
Was
It's a
steht
birth, right?
stellt er symbolisch dar? Das ist eine Geburt.
Right, so put the number 8 there, right, birth above it. Okay,
Das ist eine Geburt.
the muttering thunders and vivid lightning flashes began to terrify man and beast. The rain descended from the clouds above them. This was something they had never witnessed, and their hearts began to what? Faint with fear. Right? Now, just go to Deuteronomy,
Gehen wir jetzt zum 5. Buch Mose,
chapter 2.
Kapitel 2.
Let's begin in verse 24.
Lass uns in Vers 24 anfangen.
It says, Rise ye up, take your journey, and pass over the river Arnon. Behold, I have given into thine hand Zion the Amorite, king of Heshbon, and his land. Begin to possess it, and contend with him in battle. This day will I begin to put the dread of thee and the fear of thee upon the nations that are under the whole heaven, who shall hear report of thee, and shall tremble and be in anguish because of thee. Right? So, we've marked this here, many witnesses, right? The fear of the nations begins to come upon you, right?
Also wir haben das hier markiert, basierend auf vielen Zeugen, dass die Furcht über die Nation hier dann ab der 9. Stunde über sie kommt.
Okay. So,
That would be in the midnight cry to, when you start to build your journey to that point, right? So it's a promise. Like rise up and take your journey and pass over the river Arnon, that'd be like going over the chasm, right? So start going over the chasm, he's just promising at that
no,
point.
you don't start going over the chasm. The chasm is at the end when you cross the chasm. Here you come to the chasm,
Yes.
right? And you don't cross it there. It's marking this point. This marks the point where you've crossed the. Or you.
You are crossing the chasm, right?
Where?
Right off.
Yes, here. Yes. So you're not crossing the chasm there because you stand at the chasm and there's this time period of perplexity and trial before you have the faith to cross over it.
Also hier kommen wir ja zur Kluft und dann gibt es erstmal diese Zeit der Drangsal und der Verwirrung, bevor du dann letztendlich über diese Kluft am Ende dann rüberschwingst.
Okay, right. It says, but upon the 8th day the heavens gathered blackness, the muttering thunders and vivid lightning flashes began to terrify man and beast. The rain descended from the clouds above them. This was something that they had never witnessed, and their hearts began to faint with fear. What was it, something that they'd what?
Never witnessed.
Right, and what did we say about this right here? What has the world never seen?
Haben sowas noch nie bezeugt und was sagen wir hier? Was hat die Welt noch niemals gesehen?
Time of calamity, time of trouble such as the world had
No. You're way all along on the wrong
The
path.
new birth segment.
Yes, they've never seen the new birth. What's the rain coming down?
Also sie haben noch nie diese Neugeburt oder diese zweite Geburt gesehen. Und was ist dieser Regen, der herabkommt?
The latter rain,
Das
right?
ist der Spätregen.
Right, so it's coming down in abundance, right?
Kommt hier in der Fülle herab.
Okay. The beasts were roving about in the wildest terror, and their discordant voices seemed to moan out their own destiny and the fate of man. The storm increased in violence until water seemed to come from heaven like mighty cataracts. The boundaries of rivers broke away, and the waters rushed to the valleys. The foundations of the great deep also were broken up. Jets of water would burst up from the earth with indescribable force, throwing massive rocks hundreds of feet into the air, and then they would bury themselves deep in the earth. Now, this is the flood, right?
Das ist jetzt hier die Flut, richtig?
And when you look at Amos chapter 8, when does what is the flood there?
Und in Amos 8, was ist die Flut dort?
Out of Egypt.
It's the flood of Egypt,
Das
right?
ist die Flut Ägyptens.
And it's marking the close of their probation, right?
Und es markiert auch den Abschluss ihrer Gnadenzeit.
But it's marking the point where they realize that they're lost, right?
Okay, den Punkt, wo sie erkennen, dass sie jetzt verloren sind.
Okay, and we understand Amos chapter 8 is marking the 7 last plagues.
Wir wissen, dass Amos 8 ja die 7 letzten Plagen markiert.
Okay, anyway, let's go on. We'll try and put these pieces together. Next,
Also the
next.
Midnight Cry. Right.
Sorry?
And also the Midnight Cry.
Well, it's typified at the midnight cry, yes, but Amos 8, she puts it at the 7 last plagues. It's just a parallel. You take the principles of it there and put it there, but go to Great
Also
Chronicles.
es ist auch am Mitternachtsruf markiert, zumindest vom Prinzip her.
It
Zum
says,
nächsten Zitat, großen Kampf.
it says, the righteous and the wicked will still be living upon the earth in their mortal state. Men will be planting and building, eating and drinking, all unconscious that the final irrevocable decision has been pronounced in the sanctuary above. Before the flood, after Noah entered the ark, God shut him in and shut the ungodly out. But for 7 days the people, knowing that their doom was fixed, knowing not that their doom was fixed, continued their careless, pleasure-loving life and mocked the warnings and impending judgment. Right. So, anyway, that's just a little short overview of what we just went through.
Also das Zitat hier aus dem großen Kampf war jetzt einfach eine kleine Übersicht über das, was wir uns bisher angeschaut haben.
We go to the next quote from Patriarchs and Prophets.
Gehen wir zum nächsten Zitat aus Patriarchen und Propheten, PP.
It says, for 7 days after Noah and his family entered the ark, there appeared no sign of the coming storm. During this period, their faith was what? Tested. So, when you're in the ark and it doesn't come, what has been tested?
Also wenn du in der Arche bist und die Flut noch nicht kommt, was passiert dann?
You're right.
Du wirst in Glauben getestet.
It's the test of faith, right?
Das ist der Glaubenstest.
It was a time of triumph to the world without. Right, okay. Let's go. We were only there last night. Let's go to John 16.
Gehen wir zu Johannes 16.
Verse 16.
Johannes 16, Vers 16.
It says, a little while and ye shall not see me, and again a little while and ye shall see me because I go to the Father. So how many time periods do we have here?
Also wie viele Zeiten haben wir hier?
Two, right?
2.
They're both a little while.
Sind beide eine kleine Weile.
And in this illustration, how many time periods do we have?
Und in dieser Darstellung, wie viele Zeitspannen haben wir hier?
2.
2.
And they're both backed by number 7, right?
Und sind beide durch eine Zahl 7 markiert.
Now just go down to verse 20.
Gehen wir jetzt hinab zu Vers 20.
it says, Verily, verily, I say unto you, that ye shall weep and lament, but the world shall rejoice. And ye shall be sorrowful, but your sorrow shall be turned into joy. A woman, when she is in travail, hath sorrow, because her hour is come. But as soon as she is delivered of the child, she remembereth no more the anguish for joy that a man is born into the world. Right? So the ark is the belly, right?
Also diese Arche ist auch dieser Bauch,
Right?
richtig?
So it's showing you the same experience. This test of your faith when you're on the ark is the belly experience.
Also es zeigt uns dieselbe Darstellung, dass dieser Glaubenstest auf der Arche auch deine Baucherfahrung ist.
What is the earth, or what is the ungodly doing in this time period?
Und was tun die Gottlosen hier in dieser Zeit hier?
Mocking you,
Sie
right?
verspotten dich.
Mocking you, look at you, you're crazy, deluded fanatics,
Sie spotten dich und sagen, schau dich an, du bist dieser verrückte Fanatiker.
right? So it says, during this period their faith was tested. It was time of triumph to the world without. The apparent delay. What's the delay?
Und was ist dieser scheinbare Verzug?
What's the delay? What's the symbol for the delay?
Was ist das Symbol für diesen Verzug?
The tarrying time, right?
Diese
We
Verzögerungszeit.
know that right at the beginning you have the tarrying time, and right here you have the tarrying time.
Wir wissen,
Right?
dass hier am Anfang haben wir die Verzögerungszeit und auch hier haben wir eine weitere Verzögerungszeit markiert.
The apparent delay confirmed them in the belief that Noah's message was a delusion and that the flood would never come. Right? So right here, you get this, because Noah is preaching that the flood is going to come, right?
Also Noah verkündigt ja, dass die Flut kommen wird.
Okay, and right here you get the signal manifestation. He flees, gets on the ark,
Hier hat er jetzt dieses Zeichen, dann flieht er auf die Arche,
and it doesn't come.
aber dann kommt es nicht sofort.
Okay. Notwithstanding the solemn scenes which they had witnessed, the beasts and birds entering the ark, and the angel of God closing the door, they still continued their sport and revelry, even making a jest of the signal manifestation of God's power. They gathered in crowds about the ark, deriding its inmates with daring violence which they had never ventured on before. Right? So what are they doing?
Also was machen sie?
Yes, but also they're manifesting their character, right?
Sie werden hier gewalttätig und sie manifestieren jetzt hier ihren Charakter.
But upon the 8th day, dark clouds overspread the heavens. There followed the muttering of thunder and the flash of lightning. Soon, large drops of rain began to fall. The world had never witnessed anything like this, and the hearts of men were struck with fear. All were secretly inquiring, can it be that Noah was in the right, and that the world is doomed to destruction? Darker and darker grew the heavens, and faster came the falling rain. The beasts were roaming about in the wildest terror, and their discordant cries seemed to moan out their own destiny and the fate of man. Then the fountains of the great deep were broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened. Water appeared to come from the clouds in mighty cataracts. Rivers broke away from the boundaries and overflowed the valleys. Jets of water burst from the earth with indescribable force, throwing massive rocks hundreds of feet into the air, and these, in falling, buried themselves deep in the ground. Okay, next quote.
Nächstes Zitat.
Says, Noah and his family anxiously awaited for the decrease of. Okay, this is this is different thought, right? We'll come to that in a moment.
Okay, wir lesen das Zitat gleich. Das ist ein anderer Gedanke.
Okay, so now I just want us to see the pattern.
Also ich möchte euch einfach das Muster erkennen lassen.
There's a sign where you're told to get on the ark, and there's a period of time given until you get on the ark.
Also es
Right.
gibt ein Zeichen, das dir sagt, du sollst auf die Arche gehen, und du gibst eine Zeitspanne, die dir gegeben ist, um auf die Arche zu kommen.
All those that get on the ark, right, there's marked by a closed door, right?
Alle, die dann auf die Arche kommen, dann haben wir hier eine geschlossene Tür markiert.
And we know that at midnight, marking the closed door, it will be seen if there's any real faith in the promises of God.
Und wir wissen, dass an Mitternacht ja diese geschlossene Tür markiert ist, und dann wird offenbar werden, ob da wirklich wahrer Glaube an die Verheißung Gottes besteht.
And Noah had been proclaiming that the flood is going to come,
Und
right?
Noah hat ja verkündigt, dass die Flut kommen würde.
So Noah gets on the ark, he expects the flood to come right there.
Also Noah geht jetzt auf die Arche und er erwartet jetzt, dass die Flut hier sofort kommen würde.
But it doesn't come.
Aber es kommt nicht.
It's going to almost seem like he's a false prophet, right?
Und es scheint so, dass er ein falscher Prophet sein würde.
He's going to get called all sorts of wicked names, right?
Und er wird mit allen bösen Namen betitelt werden.
Okay, so, and it says it's the test of your faith.
Und es sagt uns hier, das ist dann dein Glaubenstest.
Marking this birth experience until you are, until the prophecy comes true right there and you get delivered.
Und das markiert dann hier deine Geburtserfahrung hier, und du wirst dann letztendlich befreit, wenn diese Flut tatsächlich kommt.
Okay, so how I understand this, you've got to bring line upon line. You've got to bring other things upon this now to help us to understand the
Und wie ich
experience.
das jetzt verstehe, müssen wir das jetzt Linie auf Linie zusammenbringen, um diese Erfahrung richtig verstehen zu können.
Okay, now go to the book of Job.
Gehen wir zum Buch Hiob.
Go to go to chapter 2.
Und zwar Hiob Kapitel 2.
So, Job's second test comes right here, right?
Also Hiobs zweiter Test, der kommt ja hier ab dem Mitternachtsruf.
Satan comes down, right?
Satan kommt hier herab.
Paralleling this angel coming down, and we know that it's right here when this door closes, and all you're going to do is manifest your character. right?
Also das ist eine Parallele zu dem Engel, der auch hier runterkommt und die Tür schließt, und alles, was du jetzt tust, ist deinen Charakter zu manifestieren.
Okay, so what does Satan do to Job right here?
Was tut der Satan dem Hiob hier an?
Hit someone else.
He inflicts him with this plague from the sole of his foot to the top of his head, right?
Also er behaftet ihn jetzt mit diesen Beulen von Kopf bis Fuß.
Okay. Okay, now go to verse 11.
Gehen wir jetzt zu Vers 11.
So when this happens to him,
Wenn das jetzt hier mit ihm passiert,
it says, Now when Job's 3 friends heard of all this evil that was come upon him, they came every one from his own place, Eliphaz the Temanite, and Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite, for they had made an appointment together to come to mourn with him and to comfort him. And when they lifted up their eyes afar off, and knew him not, they lifted up their voice and wept, and they rent every one his mantle, and sprinkled dust upon their heads towards heaven. So they sat down with him upon the ground 7 days and 7 nights, and none spake a word unto him, for they saw that his grief was very great. So, when this happens, what time period is it marking?
also wenn das jetzt hier stattfindet, welche Zeit markiert das jetzt hier?
7 days,
Markiert 7 Tage.
right? So, when they put this, when they rent their clothes and put the dust on there, what is it a symbol of?
Also wenn sie ihre Kleider zerreißen und den Staub auf ihre Häupter tun, wofür steht das symbolisch?
No, that's what it says. I'm asking you, what's it a symbol of?
Also was stellt das symbolisch dar?
Time of sorrow, bitterness.
So they, okay, it's a counterfeit, right?
Das hier ist eine Fälschung.
It's a false, what's the word I'm looking for?
Humility.
Humility. False humility that they're represented.
So eine falsche Demut, die sie hier zur Schau stellen.
Because this is the Omega apostasy, right? It's this false humility, it's this claiming to be righteous when they're not righteous.
Also es ist dieser Omega-Abfall, die diese falsche Demut zur Schau stellen. Sie geben vor, gerecht zu sein, wenn sie das nicht sind.
Okay, we also have if you go to Ezekiel,
Wenn wir zu Ezekiel gehen,
Ezekiel chapter 3.
Ezekiel Kapitel 3.
I've often wondered, I still don't know that we understand it perfectly, but nonetheless, that it's there.
Also ich gebe nicht vor, das jetzt schon vollkommen zu verstehen, aber ich denke, wir haben genug Erkenntnis, um zu sehen, dass es da ist.
Okay, so in chapter 3, Ezekiel's told to eat the little book, and it's honey in his mouth for sweetness, and then he has to go in bitterness, right?
Also in Kapitel 3, da soll er jetzt diese Buchrolle essen, die ist erstmal süß wie Honig im Mund, und dann in Vers 14 geht er vorwärts in Bitterkeit.
In verse 15,
Und dann Vers 15.
then I came to them of the captivity at Tel Aviv that dwelt by the river of Shebar, and I sat there where they sat, and remained there astonished among them 7 days. What condition is he in?
In welchem Zustand befindet er sich?
He's astonished, right?
Er ist verwundert. Oder
Where is Daniel astonished?
wo ist Daniel verwundert?
For 1 hour, right here, right?
Für eine Stunde hier.
So you have this same expression. He's also dumb for this 7 hours, same as Job is dumb for 7 days, sorry, same as Job is dumb for 7 days.
Und er ist auch hier dann, wenn man weiterliest, stumm für diese 7 Tage. Und genauso wie Hiobs Freunde stumm waren für diese 7 Tage.
When are you dumb?
Wann bist du stumm?
When you go to the cross,
Wenn
right?
du ans Kreuz gehst.
Okay. No, it's not literal, it's teaching us something. It's teaching us something that we have to understand. I guess, in some sense it is literal, but it's a symbol of something that we need to comprehend.
Also dieses Stummsein ist ein Symbol, das uns etwas lehrt, und das müssen wir verstehen. Also es beinhaltet auch in manchen Situationen dann wirklich stumm zu sein, aber es ist noch etwas, was wir genau verstehen müssen.
What does it mean to be dumb?
Was bedeutet es, stumm zu sein? Don't justify yourself.
Yeah, you're not defending yourself. The only thing that you defend is God's truth, right?
Also du wirst dich nicht selbst verteidigen, sondern nur Gottes Wahrheit.
So when they punch you in the face, what are you to do?
Wenn sie dich ins Angesicht schlagen, was sollst du tun?
Turn the other cheek, right?
Du sollst die andere Wange hinhalten.
You're never defending yourself, neither physically or defending yourself by your words.
Also du wirst dich niemals verteidigen, weder physisch gesehen noch durch deine Worte.
This point, you're fully submitting yourself into Christ, and whatever comes upon you, you're to accept it.
In diesem Zeitpunkt, da wirst du dich völlig Christus unterwerfen, und was immer auch über dich kommen sollte, du nimmst das einfach hin.
Okay, so you have this illustration of Job. He gets this plague brought upon him here, right? And he's sitting there for 7 days with this plague upon him, and he's dumb.
Wir haben jetzt hier diese Darstellung von Hiob, diese Plage kommt jetzt auf ihn, und er sitzt dann hier für diese 7 Tage mit dieser Plage, und er ist stumm.
And then when you read the story of Zwingli,
Und wenn wir uns die Geschichte von Zwingli anschauen,
you can also see that Zwingli is in here, and he also has the plague brought upon him, right?
dass wir dann auch sehen können, dass Zwingli in dieser Zeit ist, und er hat auch diese Plage über sich bekommen.
So Job's 3 friends, what were they accusing him? What were they saying? What is it they were saying to him? What were they inferring?
Und was haben diese 3 Freunde von Hiob angedeutet?
Is guilty.
Yeah, they're saying, look, the plague has come upon you. Look, God's punishments are upon you. You're the guilty one, right?
Sie haben letztendlich gesagt, schau, du bist der Schuldige, die Plagen Gottes sind auf dich gefallen.
Okay, so that's going to be a hard test, right?
Und das wird ein schwieriger Test werden.
So when you're there in the test of your faith, not only does the flood not come upon them, but they look like they prosper, right?
Also wenn das hier hinkommt, dann kann man sehen, dass die Flut noch nicht über sie kommt. Sie werden hier erstmal gedeihen.
I couldn't fathom these things in my mind. Why does it always say that the wicked prosper for this small moment? And there's lots of Psalms. I remember we were looking at them before. It says that the wicked prosper, but for a moment, right?
Also, es gibt ja viele Psalmen, die sagen, die Gottlosen, die gedeihen nur für einen Moment.
Now remember, just go to the scapegoat, right? What does the scapegoat teach us?
Deswegen lass uns nur dran denken, was lehrt uns der Sündenbock?
There's two goats, right?
Es gibt diese zwei Böcke.
There's the Lord's goat and the scapegoat.
Es gibt einmal den Bock des Herrn und dann einmal den Sündenbock.
Okay, so the lots are cast right there,
Und da
right?
werden ja dann die Lose geworfen, genau hier.
But what does this teach us right here?
Aber was lehrt uns das hier?
What is the lot casting?
Was ist dieses Loswerfen?
It's decided.
It's decided, right? The lots are cast. You're this, right? It's right there, done, right?
Also die Lose werden geworfen und es wird dann entschieden, du bist der und du bist der.
But so what should happen to this one right here?
Also was sollte eigentlich hier mit diesem Sündenbock dann hier passieren?
He should get put straight away on the cross because it's the curse, right?
Er sollte an sich sofort an das Kreuz gebracht werden, denn das Kreuz ist ja der Fluch.
But what happens?
The one that's put on the cross.
Aber was passiert?
The complete opposite,
Das
right?
genaue Gegenteil.
They say no, they refuse to take their punishment and they look for a scapegoat, right?
Diese Gruppe wird sagen, nein, wir werden diese Bestrafung nicht annehmen und sie werden nach einem Sündenbock Ausschau halten.
So therefore, when you go on the cross, the punishment that's meant to come upon them comes upon you.
Deswegen, wenn du hier zum Sündenbock gemacht wirst, dann die Bestrafung, die eigentlich über sie ergehen sollte, wird dann hier erstmal über dich ergehen werden.
So what's the punishment that comes upon them here?
Deswegen, was ist die Bestrafung, die dann über sie hier kommen wird?
What you just got.
The coronavirus.
Also das, was du durchlebt hast, das Coronavirus.
So what's going to come upon you right here?
Deswegen, was wird hier auf dich kommen?
The very plague that they're going to get right here.
Also genau diese Plage, die sie hier am Ende erhalten werden.
Because it says that it comes back upon their heads, right?
Denn es sagt er, es wird zurück auf ihre Häupter kommen.
All the sins that they deride and mock you of right here get stuck back upon them right here.
Also all die Sünden, für die sie dich hier verspotten, die werden dann hier auf ihr Haupt zurückgebracht werden.
Okay, so does it make a little bit more sense now?
Macht das jetzt mehr Sinn?
Because it was bugging me, some of those things, they just didn't make sense to me.
Also das hat mich wirklich gewurmt, denn diese Sachen haben nicht wirklich Sinn alle ergeben.
Sandra?
Christ was crucified and afterwards they were crucified outside of Jerusalem when Titus came.
Yes. Yes.
Also Christus ist zuerst gekreuzigt worden und danach sind auch sie gekreuzigt worden, als Titus kam.
And that's the weeping and lamenting in that time. We're not weeping and lamenting for our conditions. Like, don't weep for me, weep for your sons and your
Yes,
daughters.
because what's coming upon you.
That's the furbitive, intercessions that we do in that time. We're interceding for those who are crucified.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, with that I don't have a problem.
You can see it clearly when you bring all the thoughts together, it starts to make sense. And remember,
Also mit der Darstellung habe ich jetzt kein Problem. Ich dachte nur, er wollte das Coronavirus hier wegnehmen. Und nein, okay.
okay, so you got to. This is how we're studying, line upon line. All the evidence has to be brought together. When you can prove your theory without a contradiction, then you know you have the truth, right?
Also das ist ja, wie wir studieren müssen, Linie auf Linie. Und wenn wir alles zusammenbringen können und keinen Widerspruch haben, dann wissen wir, dass wir die Wahrheit haben.
So what are they going to be doing in the cities right here during this time?
Was werden sie hier in diesen Städten in dieser Zeit hier machen?
Partying, rejoicing, all sorts of evil things, because this has left them, right?
Also sie werden feiern und sich freuen und so weiter, weil hier dieses Virus sie hier für eine Zeit verlassen.
And this little group of fanatics there that said it was going to come back here, they will be mocking you terribly.
Und diese kleine Gruppe an Fanatikern, die gesagt hat, dass sie hier das Virus wiederkommen würde, ja, die werden sie verspotten.
And on top of that, you're the one that's going to suffer from the very thing that you said they're going to suffer from, right?
Und darüber hinaus noch, du wirst unter dem leiden, was du eigentlich gesagt hast, dass über sie kommen würde.
Okay, so
But there will be still this test of vaccination, right?
yes, but that's another thought. That's another layer, Fyodor. I'm not going to
And
get
now
into
I
it.
said that you will be tested on this also, right?
Also Fjodor macht noch den Punkt, da wird ja auch hier in dieser Zeit dieser Test der Impfung kommen. Deswegen, wir werden da auch geprüft werden, ob wir diese Impfung zu uns nehmen werden oder nicht.
I could make a sanctified guess, right? Is that they get vaccinated and you don't, right? And therefore you have the virus because you didn't get vaccinated, right? That's probably what will happen. But I we need to have a thus saith the Lord to show that, right?
Also ich möchte einfach mal so eine geheiligte Vermutung anstellen, dass sie werden sich impfen lassen und deswegen kriegen sie dieses Virus nicht. Und du wirst dich nicht impfen lassen und du wirst dann dieses Virus bekommen.
Okay?
Und
But the Lord's
das ist dann
going.
letztendlich der Test.
But what did the Lord promise that if you step on
Still water.
the snakes and scorpions, right?
Aber was hat der Herr versprochen? Worauf wirst du treten? Auf die Skorpione und auf die Schlangen.
And what happened to Paul when this snake bit him in the leg?
Und was mit Paulus passiert, als diese Schlange ihn gebissen hat in die Hand?
Oh, it was in the hand, sorry.
Yes.
Okay, well, he picked it up and threw it in the fire, right?
Sie genommen und in das Feuer geworfen.
Okay? So it's this promise that when you go through there and you have this experience right here, those things, he will just heal you of this, right? But what's going to come upon them? Is there virus? Is there inoculation that they got going to save them? No.
Also der Herr verspricht dich hier dann zu befreien und zu heilen. Aber was wird mit ihnen passieren? Wird ihre Impfung sie retten können?
In
Nein.
fact, this illustration here makes this even more profound than it was before. Right?
Tatsächlich macht diese Darstellung diese ganze Wahrheit noch viel bedeutender als zuvor.
Okay, so I'm going to stop at this point because there's other aspects of this story about the ark that are very deep, and maybe we can do it in another.
Und ich werde jetzt hier erstmal zum Abschluss kommen, denn da gibt es noch andere Aspekte über die Arche und das werden wir uns vielleicht dann zu einem anderen Zeitpunkt anschauen.
Okay, so we'll have to be next week because we've got all these things beginning.
Und das wird ja dann erst nächste Woche sein, denn wir haben jetzt dieses Seminar anstehen.
Okay.
Lass uns beten.
Heavenly Father, thank you so much for all these stories which you are giving us every day.
Lieber himmlischer Vater, wir möchten dir danken für all diese Geschichten, die du uns jeden Tag gibst.
I pray that these stories may enter into our hearts
Ich möchte bitten, dass diese Geschichten in unser Herz kommen mögen
and that they are doing the work which is preparing us for the coming time.
und die uns vorbereiten auf das Werk, was über uns kommen wird in baldiger Zeit.
I pray that you will help us to use the time wisely on this day
Ich möchte bitten, dass du uns hilfst, die Zeit heute weise auszukaufen
and that your love may guide us in Jesus' name.
und dass deine Liebe uns führen möge in Jesu Namen. Amen.